In today's video, I'm going to talk about a consultation that I did with a insurance agent that focuses on final expense policies. And I think that this video would be very valuable to you if you are having trouble generating leads for your business. This young man is new to the business, been in the business for about a year, and he is struggling. He had tried buying leads, which is a disaster, and could also put your license in jeopardy, and also $10,000 fines per violation when you're out there buying leads from lead providers and those types of companies. So my advice would be to stay away from that if you don't want to have that trouble. The other thing is that when you are generating leads for yourself, you're going to have a better quality of leads. The leads are going to know what they were opting in for. He had ran into a problem where the leads that he had purchased, when he called them, they said, well, I was just trying to get a free trip somewhere. And that's what's called a co-registration lead, where, and you've probably seen this before, uh, you go for something that you were interested in, and it'll have these little boxes to click. Are you interested in this insurance? Are you interested in buying this type of product or service, whatever it is? That it's called co-registration, and they end up selling those leads to multiple companies. But the bad part about it is that those leads they don't expect to be solicited. But that was the way that the game was played for a long time. A lot of people got taken advantage of, and now more than ever, it's actually dangerous to your business to be buying leads, because number one, there's if that lead was to file a complaint and you don't have a trail that shows that they opted in, not from someone else, it has to be with your company, you will be fined $10,000 per violation, because that means that they're going to go in and see. They're not going to just look at that person that complained. They're going to go in and look at how you're getting your leads, because they want to avoid any other people contacting them and complaining. And also, if you're like an insurance agent, an attorney, someone in that type of field that's licensed, you could lose your license because you're going to be in a major violation. So my advice to him, and I'm gonna give it to you. He didn't pay. It was a free consultation, and it's up to him if he want to work with us. But because I always give people the straight information, because I remember when I was coming up in business, there was a lot of people that helped me. So my goal was, when I got into my position of success with my business, and I knew something that was solid, that could really be good advice to help people, that I would, make videos like this to let people know what they can do to help uh, build their business. Now, the number one thing that I did express to him that made a huge difference for me and my wife when we started our company in 1990 was that you really are, every business owner is really in the lead generation business. Like, everything starts with the lead. And if you think about it, you could have the best of everything on the back end, software, you could have the best location, the best building, the best office desk, the best chairs, everything. But if you don't have a constant flow of people who are interested in what you had to offer, you're going to end up struggling in your business. You're going to just flat out end up struggling. And with the way that the internet, with the advent of the internet, when I started my business in 1990, there was no internet, there was no cell phones. We had to go store to store. But when I look back at what we just did something that has been graduated over to what you can do online, and it makes it a lot easier, where you can generate leads. You don't got to go store to store knocking on doors or going through a neighborhood to try to see who might be interested in what you had to offer. So he is has a he's in the insurance business, and he does final expense. He One of the services is selling final expense policies. And so what I always start with the end in mind, because the end in mind is what the customer cares about. And so when a customer or potential customer is looking at doing something with your business, what is the number one thing that they're thinking about? Number one thing they're thinking about is, will this work for me? Can it work for me? Is this good for me? They're all about the outcome. And so what we need to make sure that we have in place is the things that we know that they're going to be looking for. I see a lot of businesses get their stuff in order, they get everything in line for after the person becomes a customer. They don't pay close enough attention to what that customer is going to want to know before they become a customer. That is very important. So this is what I told him to do. But first, I asked him questions. I said, for your insurance, the insurance service that you provide, have you ever sold a policy? Do you know what you're doing when you're talking to people? Do you know how to answer their questions? Do you know what they're looking for? Like, can you fully give them everything that they could potentially ask? You can't answer everything, but for final expense, you're going to be able to answer all of their questions. Are you educated enough in your business? Because that's going to matter. The next thing is, do you have testimonials, where you've sold to people, where they know that you've actually, are a good company, reputable company. Now, with insurance, it's a little bit different. It's not like if you're a home improvement business, like the video that I made earlier last week. It's more, for insurance, it's going to be more about, are you able to offer what you're claiming that you can offer? And as it's basically, they're going to look for reputable companies that they know are going to be there and dependable if something happens, if they end up having to use the insurance. But that's still important. They're going to want to know about you as the agent. They're going to want to know that you're in the business, that you're licensed, who you work for, or who you're independent, that you're independent and you're working for these companies, or they're going to look for all of that stuff. When it's with insurance, that's what we look for. I know when I got my policies, that's what we're going to look for. And once that is all determined, I told him, you need to put that on a landing page, because he can't sell people his service without speaking to them. They can't just sign up for a policy, at least not yet. I know that's coming. But I said, you need to put all of that information on the page, because they're actually buying you and the service when they first get it, especially with insurance, because they can't experience insurance until they actually end up using it one day. But they do get to experience the comfort of having that insurance coverage. So that is what they're going to be experiencing. So when you're designing that landing page, you're more about them experiencing and having that comfort, that peace of mind, that they're not going to leave a burden with their family, and that you're the person that they're going to want to work with to get this policy enacted, and that you deal with these AAA or whatever they call them now, companies, and that it's reliable, and that you take care of everything. And then for him, he just wanted them to schedule an appointment to go more into detail. So now that's the back end part. That's the part that if you don't have that about your business, you don't even have any, you can stop the video right now. You don't even need to go backwards, which is what I'm going to do, is take you backwards to where you get leads to come to see that. So if you cannot do that with your business, whatever it is, if you cannot demonstrate somehow, prove somehow, testimonials, whatever way, and give the credibility, you can't, it's going to be hard for you. Not to say it can't be done, but it's going to be very difficult for you, because people are very skeptical about all type of stuff. People, you're probably even skeptical, and I'm not even asking you to buy anything, and you're skeptical watching this video. That's how skeptical we've become in the United States. So now, let's say that you do have that. So what I asked him next is I said, okay, we know you know what you're doing, you got credibility, all of that stuff. How much do you make when you sell the average policy? He said, I make $520. And I said, that's very good. And you know me, what's my next question? I said that if you had 10 people that came to you for final expense, how many of those people would you be able to sell? And he said, to be honest, I could sell 6 to 7 people. And I said, well, let's be conservative and let's just say that you sold 6 people. How much would that be? That would be $3,120. So it was like, okay, so if you had 10 people that saw your ad for final expense and they opted in, set an appointment, and you spoke to them, you believe out of the 10 people, you'd be able to sell 6, you'd be able to make $3,120. My next question was, how many people have you talked to today about final expense? He said 0. I said, how many yesterday? He said 0. The day before that, 0. And I said, okay, I know what your problem is. Your problem is that you are not advertising to get people to become a lead for your final expense. Now, that sounds very simple, easy for me to say, but this is the problem that people have. And I've seen this across the board. Attorneys got out of college, thought that they were going to throw some ads up on TV, radio, and they're struggling. Doctors went in their own practice, throw some ads up, TV, radio, struggling. Dentists, plumbers, tow truck operators, restaurants. I've dealt with all of them. Here's the thing that you got to learn. And this is why I said that the first business that every business owner is in is learning how to advertise their business and generate leads. The reason why you want to advertise your business and generate leads is because not everybody who sees what you had to offer is ready to take advantage of what you had to offer. Now, you might be saying, well, Steve, I see these attorneys and these big companies doing stuff on TV, radio all the time, on the internet all the time. These companies have a lot of money. They're branding themselves. They got a lot of money. You more than likely you are struggling in your business, or you're getting by in your business. You don't have money like that to spend. So the best way is to run ads, generate leads, follow up on your leads, and in the leads that don't convert, you continue to do the follow-up process on them. That's why I said right now, it is so easy for people to be able to do what my wife and I were doing door to door, because what we had to do on a notepad is we wrote down, okay, she went to that store, I went to this store, they said yes, they said no. All of the ones that said no, we went to the following week to present our opportunity to advertise their business in our publication again. And a lot of them said no again, and no again, no again, no again. And then all of a sudden they said yes. There was one customer that came to mind that took 20 years of back and forth before they said yes to us. And after they said yes to us, it made up all of the money for the 20 years that we tried to get them to advertise. The name of the furniture store was Sloan's Furniture here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's long gone now and sold it to someone else. But it took us 20 years before he ran an ad with our publication. But the consistency of what we had put into place, the day that he said yes, it made up for all of that time that he didn't run ads. He ran ads for about 10 straight years before he ended up selling the business and retiring out. So it's very important that you understand. Now, when we talk about running ads, here's the thing that a lot of people get confused with. They think that they can just run an ad to their website. Somebody's going to pick something that they had to offer and you're going to make all this money. It doesn't work that way. the way that the internet is, and really it was the way that direct mail, TV, radio, all of that, you got to get people focused on one thing. You get them focused on one thing, and that focused on one thing is not to sell them, it's to give them the opportunity to get more information. When you give them the opportunity to get more information, you have them in your playing field, and then you're able to remarket to them, call them, send them mail pieces, send them emails, send them texts now, and call them. Have your sales team or yourself reach back out to them. See, you see all these different opportunities, spots that you have. And then for that individual who is not ready to buy, a lot of people, most people are not going to be ready to buy. That does not mean that that lead has to go to waste. If they were really interested in what you had to offer, you have to keep marketing to them, email, text, and even you can throw in some calls if your business is need it has that type of a need. And you will see that some of the times they just need to know, like, and trust you, and they have their own process on the inside on what they have to have happen to them from information that they receive to know, like, and trust. If you want to look that up for yourself, it's called a convincer strategy. Some people can hear things one time. Some people need to hear the same thing 7 times. I trained all of my sales reps. This is something that I had learned with the convincer strategy, was that if a person asks you the same question over and over and over again, it's not that they want you to tell them something different. They just want to hear what you're saying so they can understand it and know that it's solid. I used to tell my sales reps all the time, if they ask you the same thing, that question, or they ask the same question in a different way, you get the same answer. And my sales reps would be like, why would I give them the same answer? Because they're just asking in a different way, this and that. I was like, don't worry about that. I know from my experience that that's the person's own internal processes on what they have to go through to feel good about doing business with you. So, and it's called a convincer strategy if you want to do the research yourself or look in ChatGPT and look it up yourself. There's a lot more to it than what ChatGPT will tell you, because it's about the way that the human mind, the things that we need to hear and how we need to hear it, and the order that we need to hear it to be able to buy something. And everybody is different for everybody, but the process to get there is the same with everybody. And that's why some people are able to sell very good and some people have a hard time selling. As a matter of fact, if you do this the right way, the people ask you for help rather than you having to ask them for the sale. All right. Thank you for your time. What I want you to do is I want you to post your questions and comments. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams here on YouTube. And if you're watching it on LinkedIn, thank you also.